Okay, the second part of our animation is going to be actually working over a bouncing ball that's actually moving. We're also going to look at the traditional animation guidelines that Walt Disney set out. Also looking at, if you haven't heard of Fred Moore's animation principles, you'll want to look, just Google him and find him. His principles as well, he kind of poses the questions a little bit differently. To start with, though, let's go ahead and start with just the bouncing ball, and as we go through it, we'll kind of discuss the points of the animation and the basic guidelines and things that you want to look for. To start with, let's go ahead and create another new document, or you can use the same document and just create a new layer for it. On the background, we're going to work over the background image. Actually, let's go ahead and create a new layer. That way we can draw on it and then hide the layer later. So let's see, we'll make this one, we'll just say this is going to be our guidelines. And for the guidelines on this one, go ahead and use a brush. Be sure your foreground color is just some form of black color. I'm going to start off by actually just creating a basic ground plane right here. So we'll say that for our bouncing ball, we're going to have it go across and hit somewhere around here. And we'll actually have it rolling off of an area. We'll put an area maybe up here somewhere. There we go. So with this one, basically taking a look at the best way to kind of approach it is looking at the animation through an arc. An arc in terms of motion. So for instance, if I have if I'm going to have a starting point here, and say we want to actually have a ball that's going to be dropping in and hitting the ground. Now if we want to have the ball hit the ground here, we may actually want to have the ball go from here, depending on the force, the weight of the ball and everything. We'll have it go up, and then we'll have it curve back down. We'll have it hit again, and then once it hits, we'll actually bounce it up again, but this time because of the weight, it's not going to go up as high. So we'll have it go back down again, and this time from here, we'll have it go back up again, but not as high as the previous one. Now this would be basically like an animation arc. You're going to notice that the flow of it here, you can actually kind of follow the line. It goes up and down. Now as it goes, we have the starting point here where essentially this point right here, the ball doesn't have any, the only thing it has to play with it is simply gravity forcing it down. So you have a little bit of force going this way, and then it's just simply going to come down and it's going to hit. Now when it hits, one of the things that we kind of look for is a squash and a stretch. Basically this is going to define the mass of the object. It's going to allow it to distort a little bit. So for instance, if your object was to come down, think of it as like a bowling ball. If a bowling ball came down and hit, and a bowling ball did something like this, more than likely the viewer is going to look at that and go, no, I don't believe it at all. Because you think of the solidness of the bowling ball. However, if this was a basketball, if this was like a water balloon, then if it was to actually squash, it was to stretch out and kind of displace its actual shape, then you would believe it a little bit more. So be sure that one of the first things to do is just kind of consider the actual shape of the object, as whether or not it's realistic, whether or not it can stretch, and if it does stretch, if it would become believable, or if it would actually cause the person to look at it to stop believing in it. So we're going to have the ball come down, and then what we're going to do is actually look at just some basic keyframe motions here. So our major motions, looking at the arc right here, our major motions are going to come from this point. Well, actually, let's go ahead and change up our colors here. We'll grab like a red. So our major keyframes, we'll say, is going to start here. The second major keyframe is going to be right here, where the contact point is. And then we'll actually follow the arc up. And when you get to the very top of the arc, this point right here is going to be another keyframe. Going back down, we'll have another keyframe where the contact is. And then again, up at the rise here. Back down, rise here, back down. So we have, in terms of keyframes, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now if the ball was to hit here, more than likely it's not going to just hit here and stop, but it may actually roll. So you may have a motion from here to here as it rolls across. Alright, so looking at the keyframes themselves, if we were to just go in there and actually just draw the shape of the ball going through, let's go ahead and sketch out the shapes that we would assume the ball would look like. Actually, we'll go ahead and stick with the red here. So sketching out this one, if I was to actually go in here and say, well, I want my basic shape of my circle to be right here, and then I'm going to follow it down. Now this shape, again, this kind of shape for this one, if we did a kind of more like an oval type shape like this, this would be better compared to a solid shape. It would be more like this. So if you had one like this, we'll use black here so we can see it. If you had one like this, when the ball comes down and it hits, it's just going to feel like it actually doesn't interact with the ground. It's going to feel like it's just so solid that it just hits it. I would actually expect a shape like this. You would expect the arch, when it comes down and hits, you'd expect it to kind of hit here, a very minimal bounce, maybe even smaller than this for the arch, and then hits again and just rolls. And this would be a very believable animation curve for it, for not having any squash or anything into it from here. So we'll actually say it's going to come down, it's going to squash out from here. Let's go ahead and sketch back over this. Now once it hits, it's going to go with enough force to actually raise the ball back up into this area. Now it's going to hit its peak right here. So once it hits the peak, we're actually just going to sketch a little circle right here. There we go. So we've gone down, we've squashed, we've gone back up, we've hit a peak. So for this moment, we're actually kind of going into like there's been force and gravity, both are hitting the equal point where it's actually just kind of floating here for a moment. And then again, we're coming back down and hitting. Now the distance, the height right here to this point compared to this point, it's a little bit lower, but we can still do about the same amount of a squash on this one. So we'll go ahead and sketch out a little bit more of a squash right here. There we go. And once it squashes, again, it's going to be going up, not at the same speed, so it's not going to go up to the same height. But still, once we get up to the height of this one, we'll just draw another circle out. Alright, so once we have a circle sketched out here, so we've got a bounce going up, going down, going up. Again, this one, instead of actually doing it as much as this one is, we don't want to really take it that far. We're just going to take it a little bit less. So we'll do something similar to this right here. There we go. So it's got just a slight oval shape to it. It's just pressing down a little bit. And then once it goes from here, again, we're going to have the shape go back up. So we'll have another circle point going to there. And then you can end it with like just a little bit of a squash to it. Don't squash it down like this amount or any more than this amount. So we'll go from here, and then the final one, if you want, we can actually roll it off to the side right here. Alright, so basically we have our simple keyframe motion. We've got all these motions set up for us. This allows us to know exactly where the ball is going to be traveling, how it's going to be traveling. The major points in here let us know that the shape eventually is going to look like this. Also, it's going to change the shape back to its original. Now, one of the other types of principles for animation is staging, and it's basically making your shape very, very readable. Is that you can actually see this. I know that this is a circle. It's pretty unmistakable that I can, it's not going to be a square. It's not. There is a chance though. Actually, just to point this out, is that on the 2D side, this looks like a circle. But if I was to actually rotate it just slightly, you could make it look like a cylinder. So this one overall is pretty readable. However, if there was a three-dimensional side to it, there is actually a chance to misread it. So let's say, for instance, though, this is a sphere and it's actually bouncing and it's coming through here. What we want to do is actually try to figure out I guess we would call it a slow in and a slow out type of pacing to it. This is just going to be the timing, the movement of it. When we come down through here, do we have only one frame right here? Are we going to go here to here? Now, if you remember our example from before, the ball bouncing up and down in 4 frames, even at the 0.1 seconds, it was still pretty fast. Your average animation speed for film, for television, is going to be 24 frames per second. For animation though, in terms of like for what we would do, you're looking at about 12 frames per second of actual animation. So you're going to have a lot of just in-betweens and double up on them, but we'll be able to do about 12 frames. Now, if we have this entire piece timed out, how long do you think this is going to take us? Is it going to take us like 0 to 1 second to get here? Or is it going to take us from 0 to 10 seconds to get here? You want to choose your timing on it. You want to choose the pacing for it. For us, let's go ahead and assume that we're going to do a couple of frames going through here. We'll start off though by finding our next major keyframe. And this one, for instance, if this is going to drop, we want it to drop not necessarily too slow, but we want it to drop kind of fast, like feels like there's some speed here. So we'll go ahead and create about right here. We'll create a more of an oval shape going down like this. There we go. So we got one of our oval. So instead of the circle, we kind of create more of an oval shape actually right before it hits. So it's going down so fast that it's actually stretching. And then once it hits, it's actually squashing. So we'll have this one set up. Now, if we do it this way for this side, there's a really good chance that we actually want to do the same thing for this one over here. So we'll put it up about right here. There we go. So we'll have the piece coming down, hitting and going up. And then we want to do the same thing for the other ones as well. So we'll have this one stretching in right before it gets squashed. And then as it hits and goes down, it's going to start to go back up. Alright. So we've got a down-up motion going with it, and down, up, and down, up. And then right here, again, we don't want to do the same amount of stretch. We'll just take it and do a little bit less. So we'll take it up to about right here. And then same thing for this one. We'll put one right here. I'll grab a different color so it won't get too confusing. And there we go. So now we've got the bounce motion going through it here, and then finally on this one, we'll go ahead and put one going a little bit sideways like this. All right, so we've got our beginning piece right here, and then we've noticed we've got our next set of major keyframes going into there. The timing on this one, we want to go for a slow ease in, not too fast though, just kind of a couple of frames here. So we'll go ahead and do a little bit of an overlap right here. So we'll do one overlap almost halfway through it. And then we'll do a second one. Let's change the color here. And this one, let's go ahead and go down, go to about right here. So it's almost going to be, it's not touching the edge, but it's just a little bit inside of it. Alright. So now as we ease into this one, our speed's going to start increasing. So we're going to actually get a little bit further away. We want to go to about right here. With this one, if we go to about right here, we start to speed it up. And then once it gets fast enough, it's actually going to go a little bit further away from it. And we can actually start to have this one stretch a little bit. So instead of going with just the circle shape, we can actually start pulling it across like this. Go ahead and change the color a little bit here. Alright. So it's starting to stretch, and then it fully stretches, and then it hits for the squash, and starts to go back up. Now when it goes back up, we're losing speed at this point now. We've had a nice flow of speed coming down, then it starts to slow down a little bit here. For the slow down part, let's go ahead and create, what we're going to do is try and make it where this area right here starts to slow down even the most. So I'm going to create a keyframe right here. So we're going to have one right here. Let's go ahead and change to a lighter color. Alright. We'll have a keyframe come up. It's going to hang for just a little bit before it actually starts to go back down. For this one, we've got one here, but let's go ahead and create one more. We really want to make this feel like it slows down, so we're going to create one more frame right here. And then if you want to do a little bit more, because at this point, when it comes up, if we don't have a keyframe in between here and here, it's going to feel like it really just shoots up rather than just floats up. So we'll put one more right in between both of these. And we'll go ahead and choose a lighter color here so you can see it. There we go. So we've got it coming down with a little bit of speed, hits, And right here it starts to hang. You've got the force of gravity, and you've got the force of the ball flying upwards, kind of equalizing right around here. And then once it starts to go back down, same kind of idea goes across here. We want to create another keyframe right here. Or I guess I'd probably say just another frame. So we'll create another one. It's going to hover right across here. It's just going to hover for a moment. And then right before it goes, it's going to start to pick up a little bit more speed. So we'll create one more frame right here. Let's choose the darker tone here. So it's going to start to pick up some speed. We'll cut it about halfway. And then at this point, it's actually going a little bit faster because it's starting to fall. So we'll just barely clip the inside of the circle right there, and then start to pull it down. Now, if you want, you can actually create this one with a little bit more of a stretch to it than the other one. No reason to really do that though, because I mean, you can do it just for the visual side of it, but it's going to start slowing down. So if you notice that the squash and the stretch aren't going to be as prominent. Now this one is about the same as this one though. Once we get to here, it's going to be even less. Alright, so we have a nice flow coming up, following the arc going down. We've got a nice squash into here and a good stretch coming up on it. Now on this one again, let's go ahead and continue with the two. We're going to actually create one more right here. So we're really going to have it where it comes up and it hangs for a moment. We'll go ahead and put one on this side as well. Alright, so we've got two of them hanging really well right here, but then we want to actually create one more right here. Let's use a different red tone so you can see it. Alright, so we've got one more coming right up here. So we've got the squash, the stretch, then it just comes up, hangs for a moment, and we'll start to bring it back down right to there. And then we'll have the stretch, and then we'll have it hit. And once it hits, let's go ahead and put one more. So when it hits and it starts to come up, let's put one more right about here. So again, we're going to do the whole coming up right there, hanging for a moment, then coming back down, hitting, and then once it hits, if you'd like, we can actually put one as it rolls off. We'll have it hit here, and it's going to start to roll. We'll take another tone right there, and it'll start to roll off this way. Alright, so looking at the animation itself, if you kind of notice, just visualize the timing of it, the movement, the pacing. You can kind of see it. One of the things that's really good is just, even with your hand, picture how it goes down. If my timing, for instance, my hand, I do this with it, it's really a fast motion. If I do this with it, it's almost like slow motion happening. Just coming up, coming back around. The better you can kind of visualize it and picture it in your head, the easier it's going to be to actually create that proper timing for it. So this is just going to be our guideline. We have a nice guideline to actually go with so we can create the animation for our ball. What we're going to do is we're going to use, what we could do is we can actually kind of cheat with this one. We can create a new layer. So we'll make a new layer here. And this was going to be the layer 1. Alright, and for our animation on this one, let's go ahead and take our, we'll take the guide out later. We're going to go ahead and create the first one here. So on the very first one, this time around, instead of actually sketching it in, well, actually we'll get some practice with it, so we'll go ahead and sketch it in. Let's go ahead and grab a black tone right here. There we go. And with the black color on it, let's go ahead and start off with the first circle. So let's go ahead and sketch out the first circle. Alright, now when you're working on this one, we can do our basic one. However, when we get down to the last part, go ahead and come up with something creative rather than just simply having the ball hit here. Maybe the ball, find just a new arch in it. Maybe your ball bounces down. Maybe it hits here and it gets hit off to the side, it bounces over and off. You can have it go that direction, maybe have it where it bounces down, and an alien ship comes down from here and beams it up. Any type of thing that you'd like to do with it. It could be a grenade as well. Maybe it comes down and it hits to here and it blows up. Try to come up with something fun. for this part though, let's go ahead and work on getting the beginning part done. So we'll start with this very first one. We've got the first circle right here. We're going to create a new frame. So with new frame, we'll go over here and we'll create a new layer, and then be sure to hide your layer 1. Since we have our guideline behind us, we'll go ahead and just hide them as we go. So the layer 2, frame 2, let's go ahead and sketch in this one. Alright, I'm just going to do this one kind of fast here. So we'll do this one, we'll go ahead and create a new frame and create a new layer. Go ahead and hide layer 2, and then we'll sketch in this one right here. Alright, and then just keep going with it. We'll create frame 4, layer 4. We'll hide layer 3. And we'll start to have it where it moves down this way. Alright. 5 and 5. Hide 4. We'll start to have it where it pulls out there, right there. And then we'll do frame 6, layer 6, hide 5. It's going to start to stretch out just a little bit more than normal. Alright, frame 7 and layer 7. And then we get our squash. I'll add a couple of lines around here. Some action lines. Alright, frame 8 and layer 8, hide 7. So this is going to start coming back up again. Alright, then we'll do frame 8 here. Do a new frame and a new layer. And hide 8. Alright, so we've got the ball coming back up through here. We'll go ahead and create another frame and layer 10. We'll hide layer 9. Actually, which one was layer 9? There we go. So layer 10 right up here. Alright, and let's choose another frame, another layer, and then on layer 11 we'll just be going up a little bit higher. There we go. Alright. And keep working your way all the way around it. So we're on 14 now. And we'll start to have it drop. Alright, then we'll go to 15. So if you notice, it's actually taking quite a lot of animation frames just for this one area. If you want, you can go ahead and click on the play button just to play through it so you can see what's happening with it. Alright, so if you notice, the timing looks pretty good. We've got a nice flow down, we've got a nice flow up on it. Yeah, looks like we might have a frame. Let's see, right there. Aha. Frame 3 looks like it might be a little off, so we'll switch that with the other one. There we go. Okay. Good thing to play through it, that way we can kind of notice when things like that are happening. Now it looks better. Okay, let's go ahead and make frame 16. We'll scroll back up here. And we'll do layer 16 on this one. And hide 15. And this is going to be where it starts to stretch back out again. Alright, and then let's go ahead and create another new frame here. And then we'll create a new layer. And hide 16 on this one. And then squash this one. Right. And then we'll make another new one here. So we'll create a new frame, new layer, Hide 17. Start to stretch this one out. Alright. And then next again. Frame 19, layer 19. And we'll hide 18. So it's going to start coming back up to the second arch here. Alright, so then on layer 20, we get up here to the point where we're just about to start evening out again. And 21, we're back up to the top. And 22, looks like we did a 23, Control Z here. 22, and click OK on that one. We'll sketch out the next one for it right there. And then 23 for this next one. It's going to start, remember this one is going to start to stretch, but not as much as the other four. And 24 on this one. Just a little bit of a squash right here. And something you may have noticed is that I'm actually just doing just a really rough sketch on this one. When you work on your own, especially for video games and stuff, this would be definitely just a sketch of it. You're going to take time to actually work over the line work, the weight, the lighting of it. However, there are opportunities, since you're using Photoshop, that you don't have to just actually draw every frame. We could have drawn one object and actually used it over and over again and just used the transform tool to squash and stretch it. Let's see, frame 25, we'll go ahead and pull this one up right here. Now, there's always easier ways to approach this. Doing this way though, at least to get started with, is a good way to get your foundation and consistency inside of using the animation tool. There we go. So we've got 26 and 27. Oops, be sure that on 26, take off the 25 right there. And then back on 27, take off that one. Alright. And create a 28. Now we'll do just a little bit of a squash to it, or I guess you could say a stretch to it. And then we'll do a 31. And then this one, I would go right here. And then we'll do 2 more frames to it. We'll go ahead and create 32. And we'll finish off on frame 33. And I'm actually not going to carry it all the way out there. I don't want it to fill too fast as it goes. Alright, so this actually finishes off our basic bounce. We'll go ahead and try it out and see how it looks. So go ahead and go down and click on your play button. There we go. So if you notice, it's got a really nice bounce to it. Goes up. On the looping, instead of once, go ahead and just choose the forever so you can see it. And if you haven't saved in a while, be sure to save. So there we go. Timing looks pretty good on it. You've got it kind of feeling like it rolls out and then starts to speed up and hit. And then each time it gets to the top parts, has a really nice slow, a very good arch too, as well as that when it comes around, it really feels like it kind of curves around on that. Alright, so we have our basic bounce. Be sure to take a few moments and try to finish it off doing something interesting, even if it's just simply the ground opens up and the ball falls into a hole. You could do that. Try to be creative with it. If this was a seed, maybe it fell into a hole, it got planted, and you could animate a flower coming out of it. Spend about 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes, and just continue working over some more frames. Get used to working with the animation frames down here. Alright, so we'll go ahead and push stop on this one. This is going to finish off the ball bounce movement. We're going to get into more animation in just a little bit.